Welcome to Trichy Truths, the podcast where we deep dive into the real underlying causes of trichotillomania. I'm Laura, a clinical nutritionist and founder of Trichy Nutrition, and I'm here to help you uncover the hidden connections between your body, mind, and the hair pulling cycle. In each episode, we're going to explore the root causes for your hair pulling behaviours, from nutrient deficiencies and gut health imbalances to stress, hormones, and a lot more, because Trich is never just a habit, there's always a bigger story behind it. If you're ready for insights, strategies, and support that go beyond surface level solutions, you're in the right place. Let's get started. Welcome to another episode of Trichy Truths. Today, I want to talk about the real connection between nutrition and trichotillomania. Now, I already know, because you are here and that you are listening to this podcast, that you are already aware of the important role that nutrition plays in your health, mental health, and your hair pulling behaviours. But today, I want to dive a little deeper and get a better understanding of how nutrition is affecting your hair pulling. So let's start by talking about your nervous system. So you may or may not know that the nervous system is your body's control center. It's your brain, spinal cord, and your nerves. It works by sending messages or electrical signals to all of the other parts of your body. So these signals tell you to breathe, to move, to speak, and in 1 to 2% of the population, pull your hair. So the nervous system's major functions are memory, learning, feelings, movement, even your senses. So see, hear, taste, touch, and feel. It also plays a role in sleep, your heart rate and breathing patterns, your response to stressful situations, and something that a lot of people don't know, it also plays a function in digestion. So, of course, as a clinical nutritionist, I'm very interested in the digestion part of the nervous system. So let's talk about neurotransmitters. So neurotransmitters, you've probably heard this term before. They're chemical messengers that carry chemical signals from one neuron to the next target cell. So something, I just want to bring it back to Trich as I'll always do during these podcasts, but studies suggest that there are a few different neurotransmitters that are involved in trichotillomania. So due to, as we know, Trich is the pulling behavior. So due to its nature of reward processing and impulse control, a lot of the studies suggest that serotonin, dopamine, and GABA are a big part of that Trich picture. So I also think I would like to add to that group of neurotransmitters, I would also like to add glutamate. So glutamate is our excitatory neurotransmitter. So let's get a little bit deeper into each of those neurotransmitters and work out how they are affected by nutrition. So we'll first start with dopamine. So I know a lot of people talk about dopamine. It's that reward processing. So often we might be getting that temporary reward for that hair pulling. I know a lot of people enjoy it, and will get that temporary dopamine hit by doing that. We can also get it with other activities. You know, some people will find it in, eating sweets or, doing something dangerous or something risky. But so often there's an issue with the body's not producing enough dopamine. So we're almost seeking it out. We're seeking it from somewhere. So we might have that pulling behavior as our dopamine seeking behavior. So, but let's look at about how our bodies actually produce dopamine. So it's produced with two different amino acids, so tyrosine and phenylalanine. So you'll find those, of course, amino acids we're going to find in protein rich foods. So often we're either not absorbing protein foods properly or we're not eating enough of them in our diet. So I know when I start off with clients, my Trich clients, I'm always looking at adding in more protein foods, whatever it is that they like. I always like to obviously personalize it to the person. So you might go, oh, I think I eat enough protein, but maybe we're not absorbing it either. So we might add in some digestive enzymes or something like that. Then we look at cofactors that also help in that production of dopamine. So other nutrients that we look at as cofactors for dopamine are B vitamins, which I'm sure you've heard me talk about a lot if you've followed along in Tricky Nutrition for a while. Iron is another one, and zinc and selenium, which I also talk about all of those a lot. So it's interesting just to note that I do see a lot of B vitamin deficiencies. I see a lot of zinc deficiency, and I also see a lot of iron deficiency. So it is really interesting to note that we need all of those to help in the production of dopamine. So, and then another just good fact to know is there is a significant portion of dopamine that we actually produce in the gut, and we do need a healthy microbiome to help with that production of dopamine. So you'll also hear me talk about it when we talk about serotonin. A lot of people know that 90% of serotonin is produced in the gut, but a lot of people don't know that dopamine also, there is some that is produced in our gut as well. So again, just looking at that connection between gut health and mental health, it's definitely a big area of study that we need to get further into. We're going down the right path with it now. I think even doctors are starting to recognize and look at how that nutrition piece and how the gut microbiome is affecting mental health. But yes, I just wanted to mention that with the dopamine. So let's move on to serotonin. So serotonin, we need tryptophan. So that's another amino acid that's converted into serotonin in the brain. So things like, you'll think of things like turkey and fish and eggs all contain tryptophan. But another one, a really important thing that so I mentioned the cofactors for dopamine. So a cofactor for serotonin to be made is vitamin B6. So we need vitamin B6 to convert that tryptophan into serotonin, okay? And a lot of my clients are vitamin B6 deficient. So I know we often hear about B9, which is your folate, and we often hear about vitamin B12, but B6 is that next one that we often hear about, especially in mental health. And B6 is definitely one of those ones that we need, especially for that serotonin. So it's definitely something that we need to look at. I like to look at, so don't just run out and go and get a B6 blood test. I don't want you to do that. But when I look at liver function tests, so a liver function test is something that we can get on the standard blood test usually. Something that I request for my clients to get when we first start working together. But I look at the liver function because there's quite a few liver enzymes that are vitamin B6 dependent. So it means they need B6. So if I can see that they're out of range and that they're not optimal, I know that we probably need the B6. And of course, I'm also looking at other markers, and I'm also looking at those other, often we'll get serum folate, and we'll also get a vitamin B12 indication. So we can look at how the body is absorbing and how it's what it is about when it comes to B vitamins. Okay, so again, 90% of serotonin is actually made in the gut. So we do rely on that gut microbiome again when it comes to serotonin. So another one that often gets talked about with Trich is GABA. So GABA is our calming neurotransmitter. So I'll talk about glutamate in a second. So glutamate is our excitatory neurotransmitter, and GABA is our calming neurotransmitter. So often we have not enough GABA and too much glutamate when it comes to Trich. So GABA controls our anxiety, stress, fear. It's an inhibitory neurotransmitter. So its primary role is to reduce brain activity. So you can imagine when we've got Trich and we're hair pulling that we often don't have enough of GABA. Now, something I want to bring it back to, again, I'm going to mention vitamin B6 again. We need vitamin B6 as a cofactor to make. So what we do is we make GABA from glutamate. Okay. So glutamate's that excitatory, and we need vitamin B6 to convert from glutamate to GABA. So often we don't have enough of that B6. So other minerals that we also need for GABA production is magnesium and is zinc. And you'll hear me talk about magnesium and zinc over and over and over and over again inside of my Trich social pages, but also probably in future podcasts as well. So it's definitely one of those important ones that we need for GABA. I also want to mention for GABA is the amino acid taurine. That's an important one as well. And glutamine. So glutamine is another amino acid, and it can be converted to glutamate in the brain. And then obviously we need a certain amount of glutamate to be able to convert to GABA. So often we might not produce enough GABA if we don't have enough glutamate. So we might need that glutamine. However, often we might have too much glutamate, so we might want to take out those glutamine foods. So it really does depend, and it is looking at it from an individual perspective to see exactly what is needed. So they're the 4 neurotransmitters. I just wanted to mention all of those today and just talk about how nutrition and the importance of nutrition on producing the right amounts of those neurotransmitters and getting them to convert and synthesize properly. I do hope that you have learned something from today's podcast and that you can use some of this information to take steps in your own Trich recovery. Bye for now. Thanks so much for tuning into this episode of Trichy Truths. I hope it gave you some clarity and a deeper understanding of the root causes behind trichotillomania. If you'd like to keep learning, you can find me on all of your favourite social media places: Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Here I share tips, client wins, and resources every week. For video content and deeper dives, head over to my Trichy Nutrition YouTube channel. And if you're ready for more personalised support, you can book in for one-on-one sessions or a treatment package with me. Here we will work together to uncover your root causes and build a plan tailored just for you. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode, and I'll see you next time.